Be welcome to the new Science Day. The Science Day is an event that aims to promote the interaction with science and transactions between researchers from universities and partners from the international ecosystem, aiming to promote and generate knowledge and for strengthening the scientific cooperation and the looking for solutions among countries. It's an occasion in which researchers, teachers, and students from post-graduation courses, as well as other people who are interested, get together to establish contacts and exchange ideas in the investigation area. During the themes will be topics from interest to the society and to science. In this fifth edition of the Science Day, Science Without Limits, the uh, the there will be remote activities in the there was remote activities in the morning periods and now face to face in the afternoon. This format aims to get to maximize the number of attendants and researchers from different parts of the world, uh, aiming to converge the participation of many research groups and international cooperation. These presentations includes a number of presentations and poster sections in a relaxed environment, and which is ideal to exchange knowledge, experiences, and collaboration in top-notch research. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank the participation from all the here authorities here in this afternoon, and we would like to highlight the Dean from Univali University, Dr. Valdir Filho, from the president of FAPESC, Dr. Fábio Wagner Pinto, from the Vice President, Univali, and Vice Team of Research, Post-Graduation and Extension from Univali, Professor Dr. Rogério Correio, the Dr. Valesca Trastes, from the Pro Dean from FURB, Dr. Michele De Bizazzi, from our Executive Secretary, Professor Dr. Merlin Bevian, from the Vice Dean, Professor Dr. José Everton da Silva, from the Treasurer Director from the uh, School from Business and Communication, Professor Francine Simas Nevi, from the Director of the Finance Department, Professor Dr. Jason Fislek, from the Director from the Schools of Science and Health, from Post-Graduation Excellent, Professor Dr. Fátima de Campuzzi, and the Director from Innovation and Entrepreneurship from the Professor Dr. Fábio Zabotio Otausen. We would like to thank also the other authorities, the lecturers, professors, coordinators, researchers, and all the attendants. This event counts with the Council of National CNPq and the participation of researchers from universities from other countries that are partners from Univali, from countries like from Congo, the United States of America, Portugal, Singapore, Canada, Colombia, Turkey, and United Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start. We would like to invite the Dean of Univali, Professor Dr. Valdir Cechinel Filho, to welcome you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Please be welcome. We would like to salute all the people here in the name of our Vice Dean, of our supporters from PAPESP, President Fábio Pinto, and Director Valesca, our dear colleague and broad team from Research and Innovation from FURBIS, to our lecturer, Dr. Vladimiro Miranda, from Porto University, from Portugal, and our friend Ricardo Oliveira, who which had a chance to meet in Singapore and has become also a great partner from Univali. And well, I want you all to be welcome. Thank you very much. It's a very special moment that we are living right now in this fifth edition of Science Day. It's a special moment because Univali completes 6 years of activities this year, and we have many activities to be celebrating this moment that is very important in our institutional life. This morning we had the opportunity to be to be signing a renovation of with one of the biggest European universities, the University of Coimbra, as part of the years of activities from Univali. We have a lot to celebrate. This moment, the Science Day, is really a happy idea from our vice dean on post-graduation research and extension, and I would like to congratulate you all, in special Professor Rogério and Professor Fatima, and to all the team that has supported uh, all this program so we could have a different day, we could breathe, we can discuss science, technology, innovation, and many other topics that are around these areas. So, for example, like ethics on research, which is something that I will have the opportunity to talk about, and it's a very opportune. I will be very brief. I would like to welcome you and make two announcements, if you allow me. One of them is to say that when we assumed the management of the university 2 years and a half ago, around that, we had and we still have as our basis of management to value our collaborators. So we used to have we have as a national policy 50% for all our employees, and now we're advancing it, and now our employees to be able to to go to enroll in our courses through our high school and masters and doctors, and our scholarships can go up to 80% depending on the salary range. I also would like to announce who didn't have the opportunity to follow the CAS meeting, the accounting council from Univali, that we have approved support to our professors. So every professor who does a master's or a doctor's degree will have 50 to 70% of support scholarship from Univali. This is a way for us to support our professionals. Thank you very much. This is merit from our whole team. This is another way to be valorizing our social capital. I also would like to take the chance to say that uh, uh, the inscriptions are open to the seventh edition of the Reward for Innovation in Valley. This aims to incentivize entrepreneurship and innovation, not only in the academy, but also at the areas of the university, the surroundings of the university. The enrollment will go until September 18th. Uh, Students from high school, from college, post graduations, ex-students, and with the support of teachers, professors, and other employees from our institutions, they all can all participate in this. I also asked for some help from Fabio with Johnny and Rogério up front to it. They are distributing this material, so you can access the QR code to get more information about this reward. The news is that we will have the participation of from technical administrative areas. They can act as mentors from in this special prize for the 6 years. We would like to count with the participation from everyone here. We're very happy because it's also an initiative that we started in 2018 when we started the management, and it has brought so many positive results to the institution and to the community who's also participating. So thank you very much, and shall we all have a great afternoon? We'd like to thank the words from Univali's team. And to explain the dynamic of the event, we would like to invite the Director of Research and Post-Graduation from Univali, Professor Dr. Fátima de Campos Buzzi. Good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you here today at the fifth edition of the Science Day. I would like to start greeting our Dean, Dr. Valdir Filho, our Director of Postgraduation Extension, our Vice Dean of Graduation, Jose Everton, and it's an honor to be here in our event, the President of FAPESP, Fábio Wagner Pinto, and the Director of Science, Technology, and Innovation, Valex Catrax. I would like to extend my greetings to all the directors, coordinators, researchers, and everyone mentioned on the ceremony. Well, this event, it started as meeting of leaders of research groups. So we had our first edition, very small, and it evolved. Evolving, it included other professors, participants of research groups, external guests, and now it also involves our students from post-graduation and college. It's a movement that has been growing, and our fourth edition has already been an international edition now. In this international edition, we had involved 14 countries, 14 institutions, 9 countries, and we had 4 continents involved in our last edition. Well, this event is traditionally counts with the support of APESP and CNPq, and this year it is it moved 16 institutions, 9 countries, and we have reached 5 continents. We reached the North America, United States and Canada, South America with Colombia, Africa with Congo, and Europe with United Kingdom and Portugal, and Asia with Singapore. Besides that, we also had the attendance of researcher from Turkey. Our goal is still is ever since the first edition to promote the exchange of scientific knowledge, and we keep the online format in the morning, and we have chosen the face-to-face modality in the afternoon in this relaxing environment that can promote innovative ideas and that new partnerships and new meetings may arise from this. This morning we had some connection problems, but it's a part of the virtual world, uh, especially if you consider the internet from different continents. But it doesn't underwhelm the importance of these events. Well, regarding the whole event, I need to thank to give a very special thanks to everyone involved, especially the people from the director of research to the events to organization to marketing to IT from Univali TV, Allison's teams who's taking care of the technical part, to the teachers, to the students that are part of the commission to organize online and face to face before and during the event. She thank you very much. I also would like to thank very much the professors from other countries that decided to attend to this, and which especially the ones in vacation. And I also would like to make a special mention to our lecturer, Professor Cechinel, Valdir Cechinel, Professor Ricardo, and Professor Vladimiro, who will highlight our event this afternoon. And of course, that it's extremely special thanks to all researchers here and attending to this Univali event. Without you, this event wouldn't be possible. There are many people involved, and I'm really grateful for all of you. Because that I also would like to uh, appreciate the participation of our online participators who are following us through YouTube. And in the afternoon, we'll have some these lectures, and I hope that you have enjoyed your first first draft beer. That was for because for now on the bar is closed. The goal is for us to enjoy the lectures, and after that, when the lectures are over, then we will offer beer again. We'll have it on the bar and outside, so there's no problem with locomotion. And we'll have also some appetizers that will be served over here. People can come here, get your appetizers, and enjoy the moment of relaxation. In this relaxation moment, I also would like to thank for the panels. The panels, they happen in two ways. They can be presential, and but they are also virtual, available to our online attendance in the platform event, so they can be seen online or face to face. We also would like to take the chance for this moment to be very rich with many exchanges. We have another, we have more news. We have made other releases, but this year we would like to take this chance to release the officially of our now new portal of journals. Our new journal portal is already online with a new face, with new functions, in special the management of the portal by OJS, which allows management of filters and all the stages being able to be followed by the users, author, editors, evaluator, making it easier to all parts, involved parts. Now we also have a visual identity for the portal, presenting at the same place all scientific productions. The portal today is under the coordination of our library, the equipped from Marli, and we also have all the library team supporting us, editors, and clearing out doubts. We also have a team to take care of the review process, translation, and diagrammation. Nowadays, we have 10 journals, and we hope it would help us to stimulate to have more journals. So this is how our portal looks like. Our 10 journals, magazine, where we have TVA Cielo. We also have some nice. We have all the NNAs that are not for continuous flux, that they go to the library. When it's a continuous flux, it stays at the periodic, the journals. Uh, and we also have some enrollments on the portal. Well, just to finish, I would like to remind you that the next draft beer, in yellow for after the lectures. Considering that it's today is the first day of school, I also asked to pay special attention for the ones who are going to teach at night, because today is the first day of class. Everyone else is welcome to enjoy. I hope you like this event and many fruitful exchanges. I'd like to thank the words from the director from Research and Post-Graduation, Professor Dr. Fatima de Campos Buzzi. To be able to start this, we invited the lecture Ethic on Research. Where are we going to go? The Redeem of Univali, Professor Dr. Valdir Cechinel Filho. The Professor Valdir Cechinel Filho is graduated in organic chemistry, masters and doctors in chemistry, all from the Federal University of Santa Catarina. He is the Dean and Vice Dean from 2002, from 2018. Currently, he's the Dean of Univali, President of the Foundation, and a professor on the post-graduation from the pharmaceutical science in Univali. He has published more than 400 articles and books and 12 patents. He has also received many prizes, including the prize Gaspar Stanner from Innovation in 2012 in the category Protagonist in Innovation. In 2017, he has received the first academic merit from the Council of Deans of Brazilian Universities, chancelled by CNPq, by the contribution on the uh, uh, secondary education in Brazil. He was listed over the 100,000 more influential scientists in the world, being uh, among the 30 Brazilian mentioned by Stanford University in the US. In 2021, 2022, he has also repeated this conquer, continuing in this list of researchers, and it's also among the 10,000 scientists more important in Latin America. Recently, his book about biodiversity as a source for medicine. It was the finalist from Jabuti Prize. With you, Professor Dr. Valdir Cechinel Filho. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayara. Well, before we start with this lecture, I would like to call here with me our dear friend, Sir Rogério Bloch, proprietor of this beautiful and cozy environment place, and thank the name of our institution to allow us to make this event on this marvelous place. So, in the name of everyone, thank you very much. Please, a round of applause to our guest, to our host. Can I, my house, beer house, you can be sure that it's your house. The third Science Day was over. Our management at the event center in Itajaí and beer house could offer support. Last year, when Professor Roger and Professor got in touch with us and Professor Fatima to have an event here this size, you can be sure that for me it was very important. My wife is an ex-student from Univali. My daughter studies in Univali, and my both of my kids are going to Univali's high school. So Univali is also part of my family. Professors, researchers, and scientists, please feel at home. Thank you very much for coming. Well, people, I would like to bring today to this special moment something a little different from our daily routine during the year, but something that would really it really worries our community, our scientific community as a whole. Uh, we're, as we are a little late, I will go a little bit fast through this first slides about the concepts, about the ethics, and all these things. I will skip it because I want to go straight to our main topic. We would like to say that we have the copyrights protected by law, and there are laws that that can have implications to people who does not comply with the law. So it's always good to have this in mind. So authorship, co-authorship is something that we have also to always to consider. And there are many crimes against the intellectual property. For example, and I would like to call your attention to this point in specific, intellectual plagiarism, which is many times uh, being centered in our activities as researchers, which means to present, use, or claim publicly as your own work, paper, intellectual work from another person or another. Yeah. So the whole learning part. And it's also important to mention the penalty of 6 months to 2 years and plus a financial penalty. I wanted to will stay only to the point of the scientific conduct as a whole, but I would like also to bring some things that are more common related to scientific research and also to our daily lives. So, for example, historical examples, general examples, some examples from Brazil when the academy, and some measures how to stop this bad behavior in scientific community. So here we have the kinds, the most common kinds, the plagiarism, which is also important to mention, other kinds of bad behaviors like the salami production, in which many authors share when authors share a work in many parts, so instead of having just one, they have many articles published in important papers and journals. So they end up dividing their work in three, four parts, so they can reach because then it counts more when people will evaluate the experience of the researcher. Stealing ideas, which seems something that not doesn't happen, but it does, and a lot in many countries. I already have many uh, reports from different friends from different countries, if, because it's terrible for how people appropriate from other people's idea and they compete and use this idea. There is another matter that is very worrisome is the matter of the creativity. In other words, how to manipulate or invent data to be able to get to a certain result. It has been shown the impact that it generates in many times. I warn people, and they say they enter in this without knowing because they have their name indicated in a paper. They don't know what it is about, and then all of a sudden they are reported because the authors end up using the themes from other works, getting appropriating themselves from tables and graphics and other. So we have some examples also in that are important. Uh, something seems impossible to happen, but which is the auto plagiarism, and we believe it or not, but we have authors that publish the same article in different journals. So there is a case, for example, that the person didn't even change the title nor the authors. He has published this article in three different journals. In the past, it could be done because there weren't so many things to go through. But what is going on with this? Those papers published with problems are being discovered now, and sometimes they are being corrected 10, 20 years later because 10, 20 years ago we didn't have the proper tools to do that. So I always like to bring these topics because they're really important. Another thing that's important to mention that shows the bad behavior in the scientific community, which is the club of the co-authorship, where you have a number of authors and co-authors. When I put your name in my article, and then you put my name in your article, and then we can't do that. It's just bad conduct, and unfortunately, it happens a lot. So I make here a warning because this is really a terrible attitude. It's a bad conduct. So these matters about plagiarism have been debated for a long time. We have here a speech from Nicholas Stinek, the director from the professor of integrity of Michigan. He would say that plagiarism, falsification, and fabrication of data in articles are not exclusive from scientific community and require a coordinated answer from countries that make science. So, as a director associated from a journal in the area of biological sciences, pharmaceutical science, we receive many articles that have been plagiarized. We have a team of that work, and 20% of the articles that we receive are returned because of plagiarism, auto plagiarism, and things like that. Then I just to illustrate this a little bit how this is something from a long time ago, and it happens not only in science but in all the fields. I don't know if there's anyone here. I think you're all young and you don't remember the situation involving a famous Japanese researcher that one of the archaeologists in the world, and he had his in his history at least 180 great discoveries. And there was a person who was a little bit not sure if it was right, then followed him and then denounced him. And one of his great discoveries showed him 2 3 years before uh, digging, like putting the objects under the earth. So he would dig in the objects and then dig them out 2 years 3 years later, and saying it was a discovery, and simply the person was finished in all the aspects. But it happens, and it happens a lot. I don't know if you know also another famous case, the case of the mermaid from Fuji, where in the 19th century, Dr. J. Griffin, an alleged great British researcher, he went to New York with the body of a mermaid. He said he had um, captured it close to Fiji, so you can only imagine what it meant in the scientific community. So after a while, they realized that this Dr. Griffin, he was just a scam, and the mermaid was actually a monkey skeleton, the body and the head tied up to the body of a fish, covered with paper mache, and look to make it look like a mermaid. So look how creative these people can get. Another famous case is the giant from Cardiff. On the same way, they found out that this giant, then at the area of Cardiff, the state of New York, this happened in 1869. So, cheating is part of the human being for a long time. Then the religious people believed it was a proof, the discovery from the times before the biblical, like the David and Goliath. So it has been identified that it was a piece of cast sculpted and buried in that place. I copied this from our research from our amigo Jose Everton that I copied from 22 years ago. So Jose Everton was part of the entrepreneurship movement in Univali. I traveled with intellectual property, and in one of the lectures, he showed some um, anti-ethical property, and he shows a similar slide with this. That was the official marks and the fake brands with their respective logos. So take a look at some how interesting it is, right? Some are very similar and some not so much. In the same way, if you don't pay attention, you really go crazy. You go there and instead of buying Jack Daniels, you buy the Jones Daphne. The symbol is the same. Instead of buying a Lacoste, you buy a Lacoste. Um, Fake medication, it's the worst thing because then it's a real crime, subject to prison. That unfortunately we are surprised with news of fake medication. And what is worse, some that are essential to 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 the healing of some people that can bring some people to death. So we really have a sick market in this aspect. Yeah. So this is data already a little outdated, but it's still, if you look for it in the literature, you will see that there's very little change. Actually, there is a bigger market for fake products. It's believed that in Brazil, at least 20% of the products are illegal. Only this part here is from, it could be a lecture for 2 or 3 hours, but there are cases, especially in the part of is the medications to make you slimmer. They say that they are natural, but they're really harmful to people's health. The manipulated drugs is also another uh, serious situation. We also I have the unfortunate to see not long ago the situation of a public servant that he painted his body to occupy the quota for black people. So look at how the person was. Look at how this person was on the left side and how he looks like, how this person has transformed. And after years, somebody was brave enough to to report. So that's how bad the human being can get. You probably follow this case. This Dr. Joanna Dark Felix Souza. She is from our area. She has stained the image of the scientists. She had many news about her lies and telling stories about that she learned how to read it when she was 4. She entered Unicap when she was 14. She did a PhD in Harvard, and it has been found that everything was fake, everything was a fraud. Now I'm gonna enter on what relates a little bit more to us with the is the about the lack of ethics from publishers that put the evaluation in risk. Let me give you some examples. One example that I always mention is from my area, and I have followed it through. We did, and we still have a journal called Revista Brasileira de Farmacologia, Pharmacology, Brazilian magazine in English. In 2012, it had a factory impact of 0.4 at the JCE, and all of a sudden, it had a boom and went to 3.5, and it called the attention of the scientific community, especially for the people working, because it's in the same level of the most important magazines of the area. Um, from medicine plants and other renovated plants. So everybody started sending their papers to be published at the Brazilian Journal of Pharmacology. So then it has been verified. And I say that I know this well because for me it was strange because I submitted an article to this magazine, and sometimes we also publish in local magazines. So I have received the proof, and the editor said he took the liberty to add some references related to the article. So if you do not accept, it's not a problem. Then you check your paper; it's ready. I saw that there were some indications, and said, at that far it was ready. I said, it's all posted there, so it's okay. But that's about oxidation. Oh, it was self-plagiarism, sorry. It was self-citation. So the impact factor is measured by the citation of articles, so they have been citing themselves. So the impact factor from the magazine would actually go to really to 0.5. In other words, almost the same from the previous. In other words, this magazine was suspended for 3 years in the system. Now it's back. I don't know what's its real impact. So all the another authors started taking over, but it got stained. Here we can also have another example to increase the impact factor from an editor created like a step magazine in this. So this magazine would end up citing the other magazine a number of times to raise the impact factor. Here you can see that the impact factor of this magazine is 5.2, which is pretty high, especially on this field. So here's the creation of a magazine to strengthen order. Professor Tania Brasilin, she probably went through this with me with this journal. Is she, Tania, are you here? This magazine? She must remember that this article was not like this that we have submitted, but they were brave enough to say that we have not cited any article from this journal in our paper, so they did not accept our paper. Mm. And then we lived many moments in which many journals have been dysregulated, Brazilians, but not only Brazilians, but many magazines. many journals for matters that were unethical. For example, we have here the journal called Clinics, which is from the USP's Medicine College, which is a high university in Brazil. The Brazilian Pneumologist Journal, the Brazilian Medical Association. So a total of 67 Brazilian publications were suspended for bad scientific conduct. This one is a good one. It's an old one, but I always like to show it. This published this publishing is from 2013, almost 10 years ago, but it was really interesting. And here we can see the matter of the journals and the periodicals that are predators, the ones that they cheat the community and they do not have any impact factor. So they pay 100 to $200,000. So the author wrote that he wrote an article with absolutely nonsense, and he sent it to 304 journals. 157 accepted it. He's also published under a fake name of Okohafu Kobanj, a fake name. And the university that he is applied to that also doesn't exist. And even then, 157 journals accepted his article. And getting back to the predators, journals, you pay and you publish, and the increase in these things is amazing. In 2011, we had only 18 publishers that were considered predatory. 5 years later, this number rose to 1,100. The journals that were 126 in 2013, now they are 1,300. They are journals with no impact factor, published by unknown publishers. Sometimes it's just one person that wants to make money, and sometimes people believe it. There are many people who believe it and publish it. And then, just one example of the number of invitations we receive, which is my case, but you probably receive many requests like this from people who from magazines that want you to be a member of the editorial body, and then you are forced to be publishing the editor and etc. So there are many. So what do they do as a strategy? They go to Congress, history, and get the address of authors, and they say, "Oh, we read your work and it was perfect. Are you interested in our magazine for 100 something thousand dollars, and then we can publish that in 1 week?" And some of them actually try to imitate respectful journal, like the journal Pharmacy Pharmacology. There are two. One is fake, and one time we almost fell for this. And one thing caught my attention when I saw that the editor was David Jones. It was the publisher, and then all of a sudden I seen Sabrina Jones. And then it caught my attention, so I researched it and I found out that one of the publishers were fake. It's amazing the traps they prepare to you. This one is a little bit more recent. It's an article from FAPESP. So the same way, it's a trap. The person has an extreme short curriculum, week, and this person has tried to be an editor. So this person sent an email to 360 person, and still 40 journals accepted, and four have invited this person to be the chief editor, and other wanted to create new journals with this person as an editor. Those are matters of bad conduct, scientific conduct, of plagiarism of some Brazilian researchers, some famous that have been fired from their institutions. They lost their support, um, and then they were judged. Some were have been condemned, fired, and that's the same point that we talked about before. It's not the case, but sometimes you enter as a collaborator, and the author used a thesis without citation, complicating the life of everyone who was involved. So you have to be very careful in every article that we are co-authors. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but there is a very punctual case about a USP dean, like back there, the same way she entered as a co-author, but the main author ended up uh, getting, not to say stealing, uh, yeah, some figures from a doctor's thesis without citing, and then this dean has been exposed. I have many cases like this, and the worst is when you have an article that has been amended. So they're taking articles from back then because we didn't have the tools to verify this, but nowadays we do. So articles from auto plagiarism, plagiarism, manipulation of results, fabrication of data, and like this. This is a topic for more than 2 hours. There is so much to talk about that. So many frauds that really shake the scientific community. The matter of the stolen ideas. Here, you see, I told you the matter about the same article being published in different journals in our chemistry. The area is the same. The same article published in New Chemistry and also in another journal, Analytic. The same article. And then it's not only Brazil. We talk about Brazil, but this is a matter of anti-ethic, the bad scientific conduct. It is worldwide. China, um, look, Dean from Stanford has also been uh, quit after uh, people find out failures in his research. Nowadays, we have many methods. We have many tools to detect plagiarism in articles, in documents. Many are free. You just download from the internet and you can evaluate. And there are magazines that are serious and they really look it thoroughly, and then they point you. Sometimes it's something technical, something like methodology. Of course, you have to use it like the same, but then they will show you. But then it's another story. This one I don't want to show you because, or else I will show you something that's not so cool. They made an analysis of the 10 most fraudulent researchers in the world, and most of them are in Japan, unfortunately. It's sad. You think it's in China, but most of them are in Japan. Amazing. And then there's our contortionism to hide bad conduct and things that we follow and bring. Always keep it through really quickly because we're short in time. We are already late. But I have, but even articles from Nobel Prize winners, they suffer retaliation. Look where we got. So the articles end up writing in the name of other people to show work. This is recent. This publisher have created a fake website to criticize other people's books. But she created a website to criticize other books. Then they found out. Her her sentence is, "I blame myself more than I you can ever imagine. There is nothing that can describe what I've done to you." Evaluation by pairs, which is another issue. For example, another journals use this kind of a strategy. They don't use it anymore because of what used to happen. The author was encouraged to submit names of possible revisers. Then, me, for example, I invent three names, three emails, sent to the journal. The journal has a standard data bank, and then they send it to me. Then I receive everything. So I just go there and I evaluate myself very positively. So this also exists. This also exists. Well, and I can say more, but I don't understand. But you see this every day. Uh, sales of diploma for me is not the guy, the person who is selling it. Of course, it's a problem. The worst problem is who buys it. Buy your TCC, buy your capstone project. Mhm. So look at this. The number the number of unethical procedures gets record levels of CEOs. And this is recent. Look at this. I discovered something, but who found out was my boss. That's the that was relation professor student. That we have to be very very careful. And there's all this part of artificial intelligence, chat GPT, and then we put all the human ethic uh, in check with some advantages, disadvantages, but I could talk about it for a long time. My goal is just to go over it. So what can we do? Mm. Conscientization. So this is the work that we teachers have to do with our colleagues, collaborators, and students. In this aspect, we have some uh, discipline or add this topic, in some or working with this in some lectures, offer extension courses related to this. Nowadays, the evaluation committees, I don't know if FAPESP already has this, but CNPq has already established this to verify plagiarism. Uh, All in all, we have to pay attention and get out of it. We have to run away from it because a mistake can be fatal to the researcher's career. So now is the time of the merchandising because everything I said and much more is available on my books um, from 2015, 2017, with more recent examples. I always show one chapter that's into the ethics in research. As the most recent book is this one, and here to finish, do not get contaminated by other people's lack of ethics. Try to change the world, but first try to change yourself. And then the realities are very different between the people, the structures, and things. So I would like to thank to every one of you for your patience, to Fatima and to Rogério for their invitation, for the opportunity. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you very much. Thank you. We will have the three lectures, and at the end, we will open to possible questions. Moving forward, and we'd like to announce the lecture, which the topic is from the idealization to the function of the research on startups. We invite the lecturer, Professor Dr. Ricardo Oliveira, manager and researcher from OIT Ventures. To the listeners that are listening remotely, the link to follow the transmission in English is in the event website. Mr. Ricardo Vinicius Prof. de Oliveira is graduated as a master's and doctor in chemistry from the Federal University of Santa Catarina. He works in the area of material, polymer materials, nanomaterials, and its applications. He's a researcher from the National University from Singapore and has developed a single way of producing graphene in a company spin-off to the Materials Limited. He is the managing director, as he already have mentioned, and of IT events. With you, Dr. Ricardo Vinicius Boff de Oliveira. Thank you. It's a pleasure to see you here, Professor Cechinel. I didn't expect less from a chemistry person, from a chemistician. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you to the present authorities to be able to be here, this great event here in Univali. And I'd like to bring a little from my experience. So let's say from go to the dark side of the force, leave the academy and go to the other side of the bar and try to do something that many professors think it is first difficult and then a sin, and thirdly, many times impossible, which is to make money making science. It's possible, it is possible. There are some problems, there are some difficulties, but it is possible. So I would like to split my lecture in some parts. I would like to start in the science, going through technology, and then going to the business to see how this transaction worked, so you can understand how did it work, how can we do this. Like Professor Cechinel just said, and he has shown, I am a former student from UFSC from many years ago. It was a time of a lot of work, and the focus on the time was to produce, to make scientific productions. We used to aim to write scientific articles, and we were measured as graduate students, masters, and doctor students by our production in laboratories. After that, I have been through a phase of recent doctor, which is the desperation phase, in which I say, I need a job, I need to work. First, I have the job of a teacher, then start my line of research. I've been through it in the university in Caxias do Sul with my first job after my doctors, and then moving to Porto Alegre at Urbis, where I have the privilege of being a teacher for 7 years. But besides all my efforts of selling patents, publishing articles, and participation in the post-graduation programs, I don't know if the people who work in the post-graduation still have to fill in the Sucupira form. Do you still have it? Oh man, that's hard. Yeah. So we used to have many tribulations, and many times the part of developing the technology and doing this and going to the market was very hard. Yeah. So what was worth it were the people involved in the process, the people with extreme competency, which I have worked with along the years. On my This is my first way through science. I had the opportunity to publish a percentage of the articles published by Dr. Cechinel, 10, 15, 20%. but it was a good time for, and gratificating time from the intellectual point of view. On the other hand, when you become a teacher, you almost make a poverty vow. Your colleagues that went to the industry, they gain the double, the triple, the quadruple. I hope this reality has changed. Professor Cechinel, we need to pay 200,000 a year to teachers. We have to increase the monthly payments, but then the students don't want it. How do we do this? How do we? It is bringing other resources, other sources of income to the university on the foundation of technology, on the generation of knowledge is one way of doing this. Then I had the chance to move to be a visitor teacher, professor at the University Nyang in Singapore. I wanted to go to Asia. I had already lived in the US, had already made a sandwich degree in Germany, but now Asia is the place that grows most in terms of publications. Then I had the chance of working in a university of an excellent reputation. I was able be when it was supposed to be for 1 year, didn't work. Then the coordinator died. Then I had to go back to sign the dissertations, but it was a very intense period on how do we make research in an Asiatic level, 70, 80 hours a week of work. This is the Asian level. So I had the chance to be invited to return as a professor, a full-time professor in Singapore, and I moved in 2014. I don't know if you know Singapore. Have you ever heard of it? It's an Asian peninsula. It's around the double of the size from Itajaí and Navegantes, so you can have an idea. Around 7 million inhabitants, 20 million cameras on the streets. It's like a big brother all the time. You have no privacy, but it's a city in the edge of the technology and knowledge. It's the smart city. This is the city in which smart technology is most applied. This is the city with most IoT implemented in the city. All traffic lights in the city are controlled by artificial intelligence. There isn't anyone controlling the traffic lights there. It's another reality. They needed an avatar garden. This is their airport. Inside their airport, they have a tropical waterfall. It's the best airport in the world. This year lost to Qatar. They're really sad about it. So they started building the fifth terminal so they can win, so they can beat Qatar next year. It's a city that is multi-ethnic and multicultural, multidisciplinary, in which the population itself is of more than 40% are foreigners from all the ethnicities. Even though English is the most spoken language, it is not the official language from most people. Less than 5% has the English as their mother tongue, besides in spite of speaking them. Uh, it's a portuary city, very similar to our area here, but much, much bigger. We're talking about 1,500 boats a day. This is a picture of the Gulf of Singapore, uh, with the ships that are in the Gulf in a determined moment, going back and from. This is the second biggest port in the world. And the economy of Singapore is based in high value commodities with high aggregated value. I'm sorry, and everything that has high aggregated value. Singapore is the first one, like vaccine manufacturing, chemistry, and everything that has a low aggregated value, they push to other countries. They do not provide water, do not provide food. So 96% of the chicken from Singapore, they were all imported from Brazil. Surprisingly, they get cheaper in Singapore than we can buy here in Brazil. I also had the chance to be hired to work at the National University of Singapore. This well, This is the building where the professors used to live. The people would say that it was like the Tower of Mordor, and where the teachers live. And this is the part of living of the common living from the students in Singapore. Many of the students you had the opportunity to visit. Professor Cechinel was there, visit the company I used to have. And nowadays, UNS is the first university in Asia, and in the world ranking, it's the eighth best university in the world. On the first from the money, 16 Nobel Prizes have already gone through this university as hired professors. There are three that are effectively working there. And where I worked, which was the Center for Advanced Material, in which I was hired to, because I had this thing to transform science into technology. So my boss there, Professor Antonio, gave me a pile of patents. So let's make prototypes to make it easy to license this technology. They were publishing around 15 to 20 patents a year, which was proportional to the number of articles they proposed in Science and Nature in the year from only from this institute. And the first problem I had there was it was a material center, a center for graphene. The biggest problem was to find graphene. I spent $100,000 in sampling, and my boss got really angry. And the sad boss said, "Not even graphene you were able to find. Everything we bought commercially, 200 grades, more than many companies, and all of them they were not graphene. Or I give up, or we do graphene ourselves." So that's what we decided to do. We started producing graphene. It was our first milestone, which many professors go through. I can't buy an equipment. I build my equipment. I can't buy some chemistry. I make it. I can't buy nanocelluloses. I'll fabricate it. This is a Brazilian characteristic to adapt, and this has value because you start to enter in a field that is not science anymore. It's not pure science actually. It's just applied. It's applied science or technology, as people like to say. That's what we've done. We created a method, and we have to put it into scale. We started at a Falcon tube of 10 milliliters, reactor of 100 milliliters, a reactor of 1 liter, then 10 liters, then 100 liters, and finally 5 reactors. When Fabio was there, there was two reactors. Now there are five of 10 cubic meters each. It went from 10 milligrams to 10 tons of kilos of graphene. So you can never say that I have never taught how to make graphene. I will show you. You get graphene, put it on the blender with water, soap detergent, and blend it for 1 hour. You keep blending, turn it off, wait, graphite sediment, whatever is in the solution is graphene. So take a look at this. Problem. The how much you get from it? Only 0.1%. Industrially speaking, it makes no sense. Then companies who send bad graphene, they do exactly this, but they do not separate the graphite. They sell everything as graphene. There are many companies like this. And you can see here that we going from scale from small flasks to bigger flasks and reactors and buckets. Those are my laboratory almost 10 years ago. We passed through the to going to the science park. We already were a company. Singapore, the University of Singapore paid everybody's salary to work at the company, the whole team to work at the company with money paid by the university. I used to make graphene and made money, and then I was self-sustainable. Then the university said, "Okay, now I had paid you enough. Now it's enough. Let's go back to reality." Yeah. That's when we have decided to really make this business. This has become a business. We started selling graphene, and then when we said, "Well, it's a company. There is an income coming from here." So we have to flip the second switch, the second key from science to technology to the business. Now I used to sell graphene. How? I have the best graphene in the world. The company would look, congratulations, and they just bought it. That was the answer I had. I had to learn as a researcher to saying, if you use my product, you will increase 15, 20% on your margin. Your limit will still increase in 14%. Then my client will say, whoa, how? How did you do it? Then you start explaining technically what does the project do, what are the benefits, and but the sales pitch is another. The sales pitch is another. So when we had our first round of investments, we had to invest, but to make we had three internships, three offers, and we decided for a company that it was Brazilian because we knew them, we kind of knew them. We started with the mine in Neurob, and they had a similar story. So they had the product, and they had to develop the appliances for the product. So they have to find applications for niobium. He has been developing applications for graphene along the time. So they have received the seed, which is the first stage of investment. They have received a seed of 10 million reais or plus $10 million from Singapore, which was a lot of money. At the same time, the people who complains a lot in Singapore go up. We used to complain a lot about the quality of the graphene, and then Singapore named me the vice to create the international regulations for graphene that they didn't exist in the time at the time. We published the first one in 2017, and then to 2021. And one of these regulations has been translated by ABNT, which is Brazilian's regulations institution. So Brazil already has regulation for graphene. We have published an article with Professor Konstantin Alvaslov, who has won a Nobel Prize for graphene in 2010 by publishing this analysis that we've made from the 70 companies. We have been threatened to. Aren't you afraid to die? You're destroying the graphene market. And our answer is, what graphene market? You're not selling graphene. This article had a great repercussion, and it's getting to up to 10,000, 5,000 citations because it was the first time in this area of this field of knowledge that we shed light on what the company was saying, that there were a number of layers and particles, because there were companies that used to sell graphene that had 30% of carbon. So, but graphene isn't a carbon 100%. How graphene is 100% carbon? So how come it just only have 30% of carbon? The same companies used to complain that the customers wouldn't buy because they used to test the graphenes and wouldn't work, and it was no news because we helped with this article the market itself to understand that it needed to pay attention to the quality of the graphene it was buying. It was it's a recent area. Imagine talking about iron. How many kinds of iron are there? Steel, I'm sorry. How many kinds of steel are there? But steel is the same material. And at the same time, we already seen that the market had the first companies making a movement to use the material we have created, which was how uh, the mobile phones until P60, they use a pellicle, a PET pellicle with graphene inside the mobile phones to work as a heat dispenser, and the whole part on the back of the phone dispenser. For example, the processor works 2 degrees cooler, which improves in 20% in the battery use because of a pellicle that the CPU spreads heat. And Ford was the pioneer in the development of the lead of many engines. This is the lead of the Mustang. where they made a piece with the same resistance, same performance, but 30% lighter using this polyurethane with graphene. Nowadays, there are around 6, 7 million cars in the US with graphene, not only engine leads, but also the ducts and etc. And obviously, the first stage was really interesting for us to escalate production, to get from kilo to the ton, and to get the first validations, methodological validations with this product. Then we need to expand in the market. I think that the industry understands very well, which is to enter in other markets. All the companies nowadays, they are born global. At least you're going to compete with something from China, but you will hit other markets as well. But so we got the capitation. We have received 8 term sheets. We chose 2 with the sheet with it is a Japanese term house, this CSN. And through this venture arm in the middle of the pandemic, they have closed an investment without ever meeting. I have never thought of doing that, especially with a Japanese company. I have never seen these people after the pandemic. And then we were able to bring people to our council. The Nobel Prize winner himself was doing nothing. So he was the director of innovation in Braskem for many years. So we brought him to help us. And also CF, who is the person who built the factory. We took him from his retirement. Do you remember these old mobile phones from Motorola, this big one? And this guy was the person who used to run their factories. He had been retired for a year, and then we got him back from his retirement. So which is something for products that are better engineered. The first commercial product was this helmet from Australian troops, 20% lighter, ballistic protection, etc. But it was a commercial disaster for us because and it's only 1 gram of graphene per helmet. So it was 50,000 helmets. I've sold 50 kilos of graphene, but it worked. We could make some publicizing with the pictures and all. Then we expanded for the motorcycle helmets. Then 5 million units sold in the US. Then it started to become profitable. So maybe we have to go through these things that do not offer so much financial return to others that do offer a good financial return. We have worked in Abu Dhabi in the aluminum area, adding aluminum in the front of the project with Marco Polo to redesign many bus parts, the battery parts. So last year we had an event, so we call Exit. We decided to change the direction of the company. The company went to one side, and we went to another one. So there are new owners. This caused us a certain kind of worry. I was with the face of these robots, thinking, "What do I do now?" I was happy and all, but and once more I wasn't employed. What I'm gonna do? Go back to the academy? Well, I used to enjoy giving classes, but oh no, I have to correct the test. Not gonna do anymore. Then I thought about the Sucupira, then I didn't even. So am I going to do another startup? So everything again from the beginning. So how can we help? So we moved down to the last stage, which is the stage of helping other startups to go through what we have been through. Well, I have written a book this thick about what not to do, and a very thin book about what to do. A trial and error. So they put a teacher to be in the management of the company. Of course, it's going to be trial and error. So that's how we created this company in Singapore, incorporated there. But we would like to put something Brazilian there. That's why we put the panther, the jaguar, and that's how we identify, and that's why we abbreviate it as YGT because it comes from the Tupi Guarani name of the jaguar, and to help startups to go through the same things we've been through. We're in Singapore. We wanted to make an office to set up an office in Brazil, but one detail: I only go if I go to Santa Catarina. I will not go to another state in Brazil. No way. We work in the area of DPAC, where I do IT. We are the chemistry industry, mathematical materials industry. So we're focused on manufacturing, energy, science, food, agri industry, things that are tangible. We see that in Brazil there was a large space for this because most trust funds, technological parks, and incubators, they're focused much more to information technologies from software than to hardware. The investment, they need less investment. It's easier to accelerate, but on the long term, our country needs structure. And our basic process is to get the startup, speed it up. We call it a special shopping, and then we bring the startup to the next stage of investment. So get it from, do you know the Death Valley of innovation? It's at that valley. It's in that valley. The Brazilian is not afraid of anything, so that valley, that's what I want. Yeah, we do not survive the crisis. We leave the crisis. And the analogy, teachers do this. They put all their energy in a in a piece of carbon of coal. They squeeze it, press it until it becomes a diamond. That's what teacher do. It's on the strength of hate. We try to transform this piece of coal into diamond so we can sell this to bigger companies and investors and so on and so forth. I know what I've been through. I know what the investor wants. I know what are the requirements. Simple things like, do you have an anti-corruption policy? It's a piece of paper saying what is your policy. It's very simple, but it's necessary. You make your cash flow in an Excel spreadsheet. No, that's wrong. There are softwares, the financial softwares like QuickBooks, that are cheaper than Excel, and financial people understand because they can import and put it inside the model if the startup is viable or not. If it's Excel, then he has to think, then he doesn't want it. It's too much work, then the investor will ignore your startup. And the areas we work are advanced materials, health, battery, materials from the technological areas, and also in the business areas that are important, like mobility, energy, healthcare. We think that human necessities are the most important, like water, food, eat, drink. That's our focus. Then looking into the future, coming here, this talk with you is to m- make you sensible, make you aware of some aspects. First, it is possible to make this transition from science to technology. The way you wrote it, if you don't use it to make something, somebody will. Somebody must actually be already using it to do something. Second, you can earn in a month what you earn in a year in terms of salary when you do this transition. Third, you're going to generate jobs. It's not scholarship. It's not support. It's not a sponsorship. You're going to generate jobs. And this person who's working with you will be for a long time with you because this person will help you make your company grow. You think that the great mega corporations in the world will want to change the world? Of course not. It's good for them. They are already mega. Mm, It's the new companies that will bring change to the world, and that's what we need. If Professor Cechinel was born in another country, he already had like a five Lamborghini, one each color. Mm. But he chose to be born in Brazil to help this country to move forward. So what we're going to do now is a partnership with Univali and other institutions to try to bring awareness to professors that there is the possibility of making a transition from research to industry, helping with financial resources for investments and services, experience, generate MVPs, commercial attractions, so this we can make money together and find jobs to everyone that we want to. People, I would like to thank you one more time. Thank you very much. I am available for people who want to know a little bit more through Fabio or Professor Cechinel or through WhatsApp. And one more time, my last message to you, professors: making money is not a sin. It's not a sin. It's good. It's good. And that article they have published, this is money. This is money. Let's make money with our work. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We would like to thank the presentation from Professor Ricardo. And following, we'd like to announce the presentation, which topic is internationalization, sustainability, and science management. And we'd like to invite the lecturer, Professor Vladimiro Miranda, President of INESC, Brasil, and member associated of the Association of Engineers, Electronic and Assistant Engineers. One more time to the listeners that are listening remotely. The link to follow the transmission in English is in the website of the event. Professor Vladimir Miranda, PhD in electric engineer by FELPI and Portugal, of INESC Brazil, a private organization without a non-profitable organization based in São Paulo. He's a member of IEEE, uh, Association of INESC Technology and Science, Portugal. Professor, professor from Porto University, Portugal, cathedral professor from the Engineering University from Porto, Portugal. He's also a scientific assessor to agencies, universities, and institutes from countries like Morocco, China, Spain, and Argentina. He's the evaluator of research from Portugal, Norway, Croatia, South Africa, Chile, Brazil, and Argentina. He's responsible for many research projects, international research projects at the European Union and Brazil. With you, Professor Vladimiro Miranda. Well, good afternoon. Uh, I apologize for bothering your beer time, and I apologize for trying speaking in Portuguese. As you may notice, I do not speak Portuguese very well, and here's the university provided simultaneous translation to English and French, but not from Portuguese from Portugal and Portuguese to Brazil. So I'll make an effort to see if my message is well received. I believe, I think it is admirable the idea of making this kind of event here, and I understand some of the difficulties. I will not talk about the difficulties from the building, but I understand not all the people here will be able to see well my presentation. If anyone understand that we should move to see my slides better, there is no problem. Please come here because I'll be quick. And if anyone needs to check the friend with the talk outside, it's okay too. The important is to live out there. So I was challenged to speak about a topic of internationalization, management of science, and sustainability. And my first question that I think it's important to put is, why internationalize? It's a word that is spoken a lot of time. It's necessary to internationalize, but I believe that there's a mistake here, a huge mistake, in particular in Brazil. For many years, there's a misinterpretation mistake of what is the internationalization process. So the basic question is, I have this written, but as you can't read because it's in Portuguese. So internationalization, the isolation doesn't mean bring knowledge, but it makes easier to reinvent the wheel. We want an internationalization process to Brazil to avoid a process of research that are reinventing the wheel when they could be going from a much higher level, when they could effectively be generating something that we like a lot, which is social relevance of science. And the social relevance of science can only be shown when we can valorize the knowledge. I don't know if there's anyone here from humanities. Is there anyone here? You can raise your hand. So please don't be scared. Don't be get angry. For me, knowledge is only valuable when they can generate an invoice. When it doesn't generate an invoice, we can question ourselves. Oh, where is our science? What is our science process inside the university doing? We have two reasons to promote the internationalization. On first, promoting, affirming Brazil and abroad, and the resupply of Brazil knowledge. Brazil isn't known abroad as a technological country, and I can say because I have a foot on the other side of the Atlantic, and it's so unfair, but it's a reality. Uh, what does Brazil export and is proud of exporting? Soy, meat, minerals, because the steel comes from abroad. Aluminum ingot, because the aluminum comes from other. So Brazil exports the primary sector. The technological transactions from Brazil is negative. Brazil imports much more technology than exports, but there is the capability to change the situation. There is, it's possible. We need generate an internationalization movement here in Brazil. Now, I would like to talk very briefly of the five stages to make an institution international, to internationalize research. And the first stage, I can say that Brazil has lived and is still living, which is the stage of migration, which is what? Sending people abroad. And I have, ever since 1988, I have uh, commented here in Brazil. I can say that still today, I find people from universities and political levels that think that make it international is to send people abroad. This stage is just the first stage from internationalization, because I say the second stage is to be able to our groups and research centers work in international projects with other groups. This is the second stage. And I'm talking about the group centers, not the people. I'm talking about organized structures from the country to make partnerships with structures from other countries to international projects. And the third stage, then I can say that our second stage, some things are happening, like the programs, Brazil, Europe, joint projects, like the access is limited. to the BRICS programs, which are a little bit uh, rougher. They exist, but it's a very bad model. And the third stage, which is the stage of attraction, now we have to talk more about it. The third stage is to get foreign people, is to make foreign people to want to come to Brazil to work with science. And what conditions do we need for that? We have to have interesting challenges and structures, very capable instructors to generate a wow effect. Wow, I want to go to Brazil, work here. This is not with money that we will attract foreign students and professors, doctors, masters. It's not with lots of money, but it's lots of ideas and structure. And then we have the third stage. On the third stage, I can say it's a general stage in Brazil at our universities. The fourth stage is this stage of projection. It's when one institution, one research group creates an antenna in another country to discuss projects in another country, in another territory. For example, UFRJ tried to do this to build an office in to set up an office in Peking. I don't want to evaluate this experience. I have to say it's not an office that makes what I have. It's an organization in another country, in Europe, in the US, but of course. But we also use the flag because I have to bring my origins. But the local science market so is only interested when an institution goes to another country. And the fifth stage is manifesting, which is to gain scenario in many multinational scenario to be globalized. And the conditions to understand these five stages are related to different perspectives and financing on the financing agencies. It involves understanding the differences between research and innovation. And for us, it's very clear. The difference is on the stereotype of research. The idea of the researcher is I will do something really nice, so then I will find someone who thinks that is interesting. He will talk about a manager. Here's a solution. It needs a problem. I already have the solution, and then the researcher tries to find the problem in which he can fit his solution. The entrepreneur thinks the other way around. Yeah, the entrepreneur, they think about here's the problem and I need a solution for this. And both things together are good. None of them alone are good. None of them are good alone. They should work together. Why? Because researchers in general, they have no idea what they need, what is needed in the economy industry. But the businessmen, they have no idea what technology and science can offer. And this second case, so they lose not they don't lose they don't ask much. They don't know how to ask for things. And let me say an example. For example, in Portugal, in an institution that I'm going to talk about soon, some colleagues, they have developed a camera, hyperspectral camera, and they talk to people on the health area. I have here a hyperspectral camera. I have here two aspirins on the table. I take a picture, and by the picture, I can say which aspirin is fake. And they waited, and people told them it doesn't interest me. It's good for nothing for me. And somebody on the bottom said, "Eh, I don't want to know about aspirin, but I have a company that makes analysis of food quality in restaurants. Is it possible to have an analysis of food through a picture, avoiding having to collect analysis or something like this?" A scientist had never thought of it, and a food company had never asked it because they didn't know it was possible. So it's when both meet, when these two meet in organizations that make like events and challenges that provoke answers. So the challenge is the industry to say, I have this problem, and but the provocation is like this: I do this, I have a solution for it. It's not saying like this. It's saying I can do this, and then people say this, and then the results are always positive. It's always positive. Making it just telling very quickly. Another example: the people have developed a sensor. You probably will laugh, but it's a sensor to find out if there are some kinds of grapes in the wine, but they're not specialists. Yeah, it's a healthy drink. And talking with biologists, the biologist said, "Wine don't interest me, but could you put this sensor in the water and find out species in the water?" Uh, And it was possible. The researcher was baffled because the wine sensor detected the DNA of the grape in the wine, but the biologist knew what they wanted, but they could never imagine a sensor like this could be used, like to detect DNA floating on water. So it could also interest them. They could never think of it. Then, even quicker, what we have to understand is that the academic process only leads to specialization. The specialization finishes at the time in which is the laboratory of the teacher. This is the laboratory of the academy organization. Is from ancient Greece. It's all pulverized. I am the owner of my little space, and as I used to say, what is the biggest enemy of the university of the professor in universities? Who is the biggest enemy? Are you a professor here? Who is the biggest enemy of the university professor? Is his fellow colleague? Is his fellow colleague? Is his fellow professor? This pulverization, academic pulverization, is the opposite of what we need to generate innovation that can be transferred to companies. I don't know if you can see from the back here this inverted tree. The key word is this: companies, they don't want technology, they want solutions, and the solutions are in general multidisciplinary. Many sciences convert to generate a solution. So the professors from innovation, they have to force in highlighted convergence, while the academic process stimulates the opposite, which is divergence, pulverization. So each one has their own laboratory, everyone has their own space. So I am the owner of this space. So building a system of a sustainable system that is able to manage the multidisciplinary process, to be able to make it the results arrive to companies close to solutions. And I can say companies want solutions, but that's not exactly true. They want something more than this solution. They want business. The solution has to generate business. It has to make money. So when managing science, when we're talking about managing science, is not to make publications, it's not to pulverize this, it's to make the process, the whole process of generating knowledge until the convergence, multidisciplinary convergence. And so I want to put to you the paradigm of the two factories. I don't know if the dean is here, but the vice dean is here. The paradigm of the two factories, the RP, and the guy from humanities. In university, there are two factories. You get the goosebumps. It's like this: the university has a factory of human resources, and there's a factory, a factory of knowledge. And these factories, these two roles have this. raw materials, process productive, and different markets. In the factory of knowledge, the raw material are people, are the productive process are classes, the results are human resources, qualified human resources, and the market usually is local and usually national, maximum national. In the in the factory of knowledge, your raw material is the state of art, and the productive process is research, and the result is more knowledge, and your market's international. If there's any businessman here, any entrepreneur, you can answer me. Does a company group have two companies with raw materials, productive procedures, and market difference? And are you going to manage both in the same way? Are you going to manage both companies the same way? No, it's impossible. Nobody thinks like this in the economical world. Only the academy thinks like this, that the research is should be governed by the department. If we understand it well, that the productive process from human resources and knowledge, they're different, because what generates aggregates value at the human resource factory are the people, and the money comes from and the money comes from the monthly payments, from the tuition fees. He's making a joke because in Portuguese from Portugal, the name for the tuition fees is the same as bribery. So he's making a joke about it, and so he was invited to give some classes at the master's course in Rio de Janeiro. And he's saying that the time is short. He's not able, he's saying that he knows that his time is short. And they asked him, "Oh, we're so excited about the research, and it's like soccer. The coach sent yeah, and asked the soccer players from the Portuguese team to enter the field and sweat their shirts. Well, shirts, but in Portuguese from Portugal, shirt in Portuguese from Portugal, in Portuguese from Brazil is the same as nightgown. So he's making a joke with that. So the financial, the money comes from in parts from investments, but in science, the money comes from the valorizing knowledge. So we need to understand how an university organizes itself, so we can transform knowledge in money. Because that sentence that a lot of people know, that the uh, that professors are really good transforming money into knowledge and really bad in transforming knowledge into money. But it's sad, but it's true. Only the academy thinks it has to be managed by departments and things like that. And one of the solutions that has been tried with success in Europe is for the university to establish other companies that are specialized on the managing of the system. So to separate the teaching side from the knowledge generation side. So then you have the concept of ICTs that are properties of the universities, and they are not. Be- they're not associations built by people, by professors. They are they're institutions from public universities. They create a private company with non-profit private company, in which the owners are public entities, and they create the idea of a university perimeter with the classic university in the center. But they have a group of other companies around that can manage science in many areas, like in science, mechanics, electric engineering. They manage other areas, but their council and administration councils, they are guided by the university or by a consort of universities. So I am going to move forward. Why is this important? In a private management, science management is, of course, the logic of the state is the budget. It's how to spend money. And the logic from a private association is how to make money. The budget from public universities, it's a list of things that you can spend. I can spend money on this, and that. It's everything to expand. If you don't spend everything, you have to rush and spend everything. So next year they may not receive the same money. On a private institution, you have to plan on how to make money to your own activity. Because if you don't make enough money, it breaks. It goes bankrupt. It completely inverts the logic of the organization. Europe and many countries have moved, have given steps towards to break this thing. So the first thing is to generate a freedom of model. Until 2016, there was no liberty of model in Brazil, modeling of sampling. So on the new mark of innovation, they created a law for innovation, published it. The lawmakers, the proxy holders, they used to say it's not constitutional, the innovation law, and they didn't approve anything. Only in 2016 that it was allowed that a university had a participation in companies. And then the lawmakers said by a majority of reason, then can also participate of non-profitable companies. But the innovation mark, the legislation just says that they can participate in companies. But lawmakers then decided that. And why this liberty, this freedom? You need to let Charles Darwin shake his hand. You let you need to let the competition from different structures of science management, so that the agents themselves from science verify which one is more efficient, which one is best. Now Brazil has these conditions. I don't know if Brazil is already understands this reach, but this is the beginning. And then there's the second condition, to abandon the concept of PI based on research. It's a model that CNPq still insists on. How many of you have been forced to have a credit card on a bill to manage the budget of a project? This may has no logic. This process of CNPq doesn't recognize the science organizations, only people. Therefore, there's no stimulation. At least it's hard to organize because it's not the financing is not aligned with the associations. Another example: projects that pay scholarships, pay trips, and everything. But then, if I can do, if I can get to the result with less trips and less people, will I do it or not? No, because if I make less trips, I don't receive the money. If I hire less people, I don't receive the money. What is the stimulus I receive in having a more efficient project process? This financing method doesn't stimulate efficiency in the managing system. It's something that needs to be thought. What stimulates it? Multiple agreements straight with companies in which they do not hire by activity, but that they do hire by result. So I'll pay you $1 million. Oh, that's good. 1 million is good. And I will do this with 10 people. I'm thinking better. Let's do it with 7 people. And then my superavit will result in money that can insert in my research. Instead of traveling 3 times, let's make a conference call. It's in If it's in my budget that I can make 3 trips, why am I going to take a plane from Navegantes to Itajaí? But I have spent the money, so but it's very close one to the other. So this process stimulates expenses and not efficiency, and that's why it's needed to change. The third break is to recognize organization. So CNPq does not have any evaluation process of research groups. CAPS evaluates costs. There are no processes in Brazil that establish a ranking, etc., evaluating organizations that coordinate research. The organization is good, the group produces, the group strategy is good, and therefore, if the strategy is good, I will give more financing to the groups that offer better strategies. And the group that only is only good on the classification enters a program of recuperation. Then the group closes, and then there's no more financing. This also happens in European countries, but in Brazil, the value of the science organization is not recognized. Therefore, it's another transformation that I need to make to have. After that, the fifth change is to organize this science organization, contaminate the university with this process, because for the universities, start to organize themselves in a less or and let's gonna. I'm not talking about Univali, which is great because I can't talk bad things about the institution that I'm talking to, but the classic university is very poorly organized. It's very inefficient. It's very inefficient. Therefore, it contaminates the contamination by efficient organizations, science organizations, where teachers, professors work, but they also work in a efficient organization. It will make them want to bring this efficiency to the university. And the sixth break is that the model of private management should be put to manage also innovation. It implies in learning what is a management model and entrepreneurship management, business management. So the recipe to be sustainable in any activity of innovation or research is that we not only finance, it's the total. It's the classical financiers, and that there is money coming from companies in the process of valuing knowledge. It generates value. The company wants the knowledge, and they pay the fair amount for the knowledge. So here we enter a discussion. So I'm gonna cite the statistics. In Europe there is an association called EARTO, which is the Association of Organizations of Research, European Research. EARTO has 360 partners, 350 uh, research organizations in which are included Fraunhofen. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce. IBT from Finland, DNO from Holland, and many others. So look at this. The innovation and research in Europe is considered an economical area. The group of these institutions from IARTO, if they were a company, if it were a company group, it would be among the 100 more influential companies in the world from Financial Times. The business generated by research and development institutions. One of the ICT, most important ICTs, European ICTs, they generate around 30 and 40 billion of euros in revenue. Science is a business area in Europe, and that's why I have here my friend from humanities. Yeah, science is business. Don't get the itch. Don't get. When we understand this, we can finally advance. We need to move forward to evolve. You need to understand that financed projects, they are not profitable. They give loss. They have losses. And to be sustainable, we need projects with companies or financed with results, financed based in results. The the projects based on what is delivered is what provides a margin to pay the financed projects. And financed projects, they provide losses because they do not pay all the indirect costs of that the research generates. So I have already made this question yesterday, but I already kind of know the answer. But much of the money from research doesn't even go through the dean. The dean from federal universities, they have no idea of how much money circulates for research in the university. They don't know how much the the structural cost of the university to spread research. And what is ridiculous, because the main institutions like CNPq and FAPET say that they only finance with a counterpart from the university. And this is ridiculous. I'm sorry. We are among friends, but I will say like this. Or if you prefer to say, I am from Portugal, I don't beat around the bush. I go straight to the point. I'm gonna even gonna say a story. I'm gonna tell that I told the story before to the thing before, but I'm telling it again. When checking in at the airport, I said, if I know the Brazil has the idea, the Portuguese is very straightforward with very limited literal interpretation of words. In the check-in, I chose the seat, and the flight attendant asked me, "Would you like to sit at window or aisle or something like this? Would you like, yeah, window or aisle?" And I said, "My dear, I do not sit on the window, and I'm not going to sit on the aisle either. I want a seat. I want to sit on a seat." No, no, sir. I'm only asking if you want to. And she couldn't understand what I was saying. I want to sit on a chair, not on not on the aisle, or not on the window. And that, and Portuguese, we are very straightforward, because in counterpart, what they're saying is that these institutions, these financing institutions, are saying this: let's finance private institution with the money from education. Why? Because private companies, they have projects, for example, PNL, they have, they pay direct costs, a little bit of structural costs, but it's 5% tops. And now the indirect costs, they don't pay for it. They pay the product. Sometimes it's 100% intellectual property, but the indirect costs, they are there. So who pays for the office, for the cleaning lady, the computer? So this cost, the company is going to receive the product with a price below the cost. This financing, the difference is the university through financing education. They're financing the private companies with the money from education. And this is what FAPESP or CNPq is saying, is requiring the university put a counterpart instead of the financing of the project, could also put an extra money on the indirect costs. In Singapore, for sure, they take care of the indirect costs. 30% of the European projects, European Commission, and they're contribute right away. Here in Brazil, a university, the more research it makes, the more losses it has. And and dear Vice Dean, I don't know if it offends you, but it's the reality. I will move forward a little bit. I'll move forward just to excuse to talk about my organization, which is INESC Brazil. INESC Brazil is built of is a nonprofit organization uh, constituted by 12 universities, 12 public Brazilian universities, almost all federal and one state, and one research institution for Portugal. And this model of organization we have imported from Portugal, from it's like precisely to bring Brazil a different model to manage science. And how do we interact with the companies? I mean, we talk with Univali to see if we have the possibility to sign an agreement integrating Univali to INESC Brazil. I don't know if I'm giving any spoilers, but we're talking about it. So when a company wants a project, a solution, that we tried this necessity. Normally, to be a solution, it has to we have to have a specialist in telecommunication and electronics and shipping and computing. So we're going through network to get in each university the best specialists available to form a team to try to solve this problem and give it a solution. And that's the power of the network. It's a multidisciplinary project and multi-institutional. But the company don't see this. The company doesn't see all this mess. The company only see one institution, which we call a single interface window. Uh, and we have, let me show a little bit forward. So, for example, of project, here, if you can see, we have an intelligent isolator and a high tension power line that that supplies São Paulo's energy, and that's an academic process that an electric company was brave enough to use it, and if offers any problem, São Paulo has a breakout because the process was only professional enough for the company to trust in that. And there are many technologies, but I would like to call your attention to that. To do this, we have reunited 11 institutions, 10 universities plus INESC Portugal to be able to generate a product. When it comes in the discussion, I'm not going to 11 agreements with 11 institutions. Thank you very much. I appreciate the beer, but I'm going away. It's not possible. Do not sign with 11 companies. Sign with one, and then we distribute with the partners. We distribute the activities and the percentages and everything. We make the local agreements. We deal with it. The companies doesn't need to see don't need to see the academic confusion, the academic mass, the organization. One of the ways to benefit this environment is with groups. We like groups, research groups. If they make like a kind of movement of affiliated groups from, you don't have to change the identity, you don't have to change many things. I'm affiliated group from ABA, and then we become this group is our affiliated, so the group can now participate in events, projects, and etc. And organize itself very quickly. Also speaking now about our organization in Portuguese, which is the Social Portuguese from our Brazilian universities. The Social Portuguese has a similar model. It's for universities put in the same point. The NESC The NESC has around 1,300, 1,400 researchers. They have many foreign students. There are 40 countries there working. Basically, half of the foreign people are from Brazil, and then many go back to Brazil, and INESC Brazil helps with the integration. There's one more bidding to reintegration for people being reintegrated in Brazil. We use this scholarship that are very top-notch laboratories, high-tech laboratories in the area of photonic. Many projects are theory in physics in Brazil, and then they're done in our laboratories because we don't have a photonic laboratory in Brazil. We have areas for oceanic robotics, and electric, and etc. There is an oceanographic ship and robotics. That is works until 7,000 meters of deepness of depth. Yeah, it's going to be hard for you to see this movie, but I have also brought a movie. It's only the background music, but I will comment. And this is a world record beaten by the INESC on the investigation of inundated grounds with water in great depthness with robots like this, made at INESC. This is in Czech Republic. The guys in red are from Czech Republic. The guys in blue are from Portugal. So we it was only known 120 meters deep from the ground because the divers couldn't go further than that. There's a hole. It was an agreement with the Czech uh, government to be able to map this ground. So now we can see digital images made by robots. So the Czech are there. And so yeah, they're working. I mean, why did I bring this movie? Here's the mapping up to 450 meters. It has beaten the world record of diving in a grout in the ground. Why did I bring this? Because this robot and this agreement, this robot is a product from NASDAQ, but the agreement was gotten by a startup that is NASDAQ created, sediated in Budapest in Hungary to make a congress in technology. Then the company provides services to mina, to mines, to grouts, and etc. But the technology is from the institution company. So when they got an agreement, they call us, and then technology goes and does the exploration. That's the same what we can do here in Brazil. We can do the same here in Brazil, which is the process of generating products and companies. We're talking about the startup companies and etc. And this process is needed intelligence to we didn't we didn't build a company to sell robots. We've made a company to sell services. And then this company will call one of the names of the company, which is the research institution to execute the job. So in this strategy of technology companies and etc., the process is complex. So, and we need to build a more efficient process in Brazil. And I leave some opportunities of investigation, as we said in Portugal. We use more investigation than research in Portugal in the foreign side. So if you go to our website, there are many opportunities this year, almost 500 opportunities. Part scholarships, part agreements, confirmed, depending on how it goes. And as there are many Brazilians that goes there for a double degree, and then they go back to Brazil to to contrary the exportation of brains. So as I have finished, and they didn't show the paper, I'll have to sing now. Now I have finished. Maybe I will explain my nature, my direct nature, and very enthusiastic and objective with a little anecdote. For us in Portugal, we have many jokes about Christ. I don't know if in Brazil it's so, but there are many. There are many jokes in Portugal. There's a story that says that, and then people took Madalena to Christ. Oh, the sinner, and then Christ said, as for the crowd, and who has never made a mistake, throw the first stone. So, and from the crowd, a Portuguese person came from the crowd and throw the first stone, and then Madeline asked, "So then, Portuguese, have you never made a mistake?" And then the Portuguese guy said, "No, not from this distance." Well, thank you very much. So right now we open for possible questions. We have here Dr. Vladimiro. Unfortunately, Professor Cechinel couldn't stay. So if anyone wants to talk, I apologize, but we're going to finish the translation now. We're going to start the integration between research of research groups and discussion of panels. The panels are exposed on the entrance of the event. And if you want to access the platform, it's also the QR codes also fixed on the panels. We thank the participation of all. We take the chance to discuss science in a relaxed way. Once more, the professor thanks, and we would like to thank again our host, Mr. Rogério, the proprietor of your house. So here's our invitation to remain here in the house and enjoy the headcutters starting at 8 o'clock in the house. To everyone, a very good end of evening. Thank you very much. Have a good night.